Hello and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. I am Zarkoon, and today I've got a look at premium tier 6 British battleship HMS Hood for you. First though, here is my commander build on the screen, level 16 Cunningham, and here's an image I found on Google of the ship's armor. 25mm of bow armor and 25mm of plating on the deck section above the bow there, so that's pretty significant. And this little infographic thing provided by Wargaming for us. Notice the superstructure armor. It looks like it is quite a bit more lightly armored than even the bow, so that is also going to be significant. And we'll talk about the deck armor or not the deck armor, the bow armor and the superstructure armor as we get into the video, and we're going to jump right into things now. So you see, here we are, we've jumped right into things. I was messing around with my recording settings, and I missed recording the first couple minutes of the battle, so sorry about that, but here we go. We've already taken a shot at this Queen Elizabeth, shaved almost 7,000 hit points off of him, and we're lining up here for another shot, except maybe we're gonna take a shot here at the de Grasse, and, you know, since we're shooting, I think now would be a good time to talk about the guns on this Queen Elizabeth. It's got, or not Queen Elizabeth, what am I saying, the Hood. It's got 381mm guns, the same caliber that is found on the Queen Elizabeth, and also the Vanguard and the Warspite. So these guns are pretty effective, relatively large caliber. They fire the short-fused British AP, so they can potentially be catastrophic agents of destruction when sent the way of cruisers, but they might be a little bit less effective against battleships because they tend to have thicker armor and they tend to have layers of armor. So the short-fused AP will penetrate a single layer of armor, detonate, and cause damage that way, rather than penetrating all the armor and, say, detonating in the citadel. But the thing to really talk about with the Hood is, like I alluded to in the introduction, the armor setup. So it has 25mm of bow armor. Now, let's get into some Overmatch Mechanics here and talk about what that means. The rule for Overmatch Mechanics is you take the thickness of the armor, multiply that by 14.3, and the number you get is the caliber of gun that will overmatch the armor. So 25 times 14.3 equals 357.5. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to round that up or down, but let's just round it up and say 358 to be safe. So that means anything with guns that are 358mm in caliber or larger will be able to overmatch the bow armor of the Hood here. So just quite like the Nelson, actually. So what has 358mm guns, or what has larger caliber guns? What ships have those that you'll be facing? Well, the Colorado, the Iowa, the Nagato, the Amagi, the Queen Elizabeth, the Warspite, the Vanguard, the Bayern, the Gneisenau, the Bismarck, the Richelieu, the Jean Bart, the Nelson, the Mutsu, and the Ashitaka. So, pretty much any battleship you're going to come across, aside from things like the New Mexico, the Fuso, the Normandy, Leon, King George V, Scharnhorst, they're all going to be able to overmatch your bow armor. But that's not all. Now, I don't know, because I don't have access to a really super detailed armor viewer, how much armor plating is on the superstructure, but judging by those images we saw in the beginning of the video, we can reasonably assume that the armor plating on the superstructure is thinner than 25mm. Now, so let's talk about HE spam for a second and HE shell penetration mechanics. So what you need to do in order to figure out how much armor your HE shells are going to penetrate is take the caliber of your guns and divide it by 6. So most destroyers, for example, have 127mm gun, or 127mm caliber guns. So you take 127 divided by 6, you get 21. So most destroyers with 127mm guns, which is basically all of them, except for, I think, the Icarus, or the British destroyers. I think they might have 120mm guns. Anything with 127mm guns, their HE shells will pen 21mm of armor. And we can assume that the superstructure on the hood here is probably got around 21mm of armor, or probably even less than that. So that's all to say that the superstructure, which is massive, by the way, on the hood, is going to eat up a lot of HE shell damage, not to mention the fire starting chance. I happen to be using flammable cannoneer on this build, so it's a little bit of a problem. And also, that lightly armored superstructure is going to eat up a lot of AP shell penetration, so this ship is going to take a lot of damage. And now that I've said that, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Zarkun, this all sounds pretty negative. This sounds like a very squishy ship. Well, it is. I'm not going to talk about the history of the hood. Other people have done that, and they've done it better than I'll be able to do. But keep in mind that this ship was designed after World War I. It was 20 years old by the time World War II came around, and it was relatively lightly armored compared to its contemporaries. Its armor is possibly what allowed the Bismarck's shell to enter the magazine and detonate and destroy the ship. So this is a squishy ship, and you'll see there, I said it's rare to get citadels on battleships, and it is, but that Queen Elizabeth was, at point blank range, more or less, in terms of battleship range, less than 10 kilometers, flat broadside, so, the citadel there is nice, a little bit unexpected. It's not going to happen all the time. Don't count on that when you're firing at enemy battleships. This Nagato is giving us a bit of broadside. We hit him, and it does a lot less. He was angled a little bit, so maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. But with its lightly armored nature, that makes angling in this ship a must. You are going to have to angle, or you are going to be absolutely obliterated. I've started a game before in the hood, made an opening turn, thought I was safe, nope, spotted, and there was a Colorado in position to shoot my flat broadside. He did, and he reduced me to 8,000 HP. So, not nice, not good. You need to be careful with this thing. You need to make sure your positioning is, positioned as such that you're not an attractive target to a bunch of enemy ships. If you get focused with a combination of AP and HE spam, you're going to go down pretty quickly. And you don't necessarily want to be getting very close to ships the way I am with this Nagato. We're going to get into a knife fight here, and he is going to take off a lot of my hit points. So you can watch that as it happens. I think what you want to do with this ship is use one of its great advantages, which is its high speed. It's got a max speed of, I think, 32 knots, and it's really quick for a battleship. So that speed pretty much outclasses most of the battleships you're going to be facing in battles with this thing, except for things like Gneisenau's, So that means what you can do is be mindful of your positioning and sort of dictate the terms of the engagement. In the beginning of this battle, I was approaching this Charlie Cap here. It was just full of the reds, so I thought, oh, it's too hot, better bug out, and I turned around. I came back around that island, repositioned myself, and entered the cap again. Unfortunately, I did meet a Nagato who was determined to get close to me, and I can't really turn away to disengage from him without giving a massive amount of broadside. So I kind of have to be in this knife fight here in order to stay alive. And you can see we started at 50,000 something hit points. Now we're down to 25,000. He's reduced us quite a bit, and I think he has been primarily shooting HE shells at us. So the fire and the superstructures propensity for eating up HE shell damage is working against us here. But we're going to kind of just outplay him a little bit here. We're going to get him frustrated. You see, we're turning our ship. We want to bait him into turning and giving us a flatter broadside, making it easier for us to penetrate. So he's doing exactly what we want him to do. He has now completed his turn and is at a flat broadside. We are a little bit less than a kilometer away from him, so we're going to fire right into his citadel and take him down. Now, you know, these citadels, I've said it once, but I can't overstate it. You're not really going to be seeing citadel hits on enemy battleships, except at very close ranges like this. And you don't want to necessarily get into close range with this ship because of its armor. It's pretty squishy for a battleship, and you need to play it carefully. This ship is not at all forgiving of mistakes. If you make a mistake and take an AP salvo from a battleship in the broadside, you are going to be affected for the rest of your life. It's going to be a really traumatic experience, and you're going to carry it with you until you die, pretty much. That might sound a little dramatic, maybe it is, I don't know. Difficult ship to play, though. This is not a beginner-friendly one. But, since it is such a famous ship, it is probably going to be a popular choice among naval enthusiasts. So if you want to buy it for that reason, go ahead. I bought it because I wanted to play it and review it, and I was initially underwhelmed by it, but now I kind of like it. Now that I've kind of figured out how to play it, and the mentality I'm going for with this ship is sort of a hybrid between cruiser and battleship, I find that I want to stay at range in the beginning of the match when there are a lot of enemies. I want to take shots at broadside cruisers primarily, and also broadside battleships. And then as the enemy team starts to dwindle and sink, then I can move in closer to get some more close range shots on broadside battleships. And you see this Leon over here? He's shown us some broadside. He does vanish, but we hit him pretty hard. We were at 117,000 damage. Now we're at 127. 10k salvo on there. Not horrible. That's pretty good. And that's kind of what you should be expecting when you're aiming at broadside battleships on the hood. About 10k salvo. 10k salvos or so. No citadels. Just decent armor-piercing damage is what you are likely to get. Now, the hood does have a large turning circle radius, 900 meters, which is huge. And keep in mind, this was once the largest world ship in the entire world. So, of course, it's going to have a big turning circle, being so long. But the rudder shift time can be made decent with the rudder shift mod. I think on my build here, it's about 11-12 seconds, which is pretty great for a battleship. The rudder responds really well, and it at least starts the turn pretty quickly, even if you aren't able to complete the turn in a timely manner. So, all in all, this is a good ship. It's a fun ship. The guns are pretty good. I think on my build here with Cunningham and Ciliax as an inspiration, they've got maximum damage of 11 or 12,000. HE shells in the 5,000 range, 34% chance to start fire, which is massively outclassed by the King George, the Nelson, the Vanguard. So this is not really an HE spammy type ship, although the HE can be effective. It's definitely a ship you want to be shooting AP from most of the time. And the game here, this Leon is in the C cap. If we kill him, we are going to win. The points are close enough, so we're coming around this corner here. We're going to have shots on the Leon, and we're going to take him out. So, there he goes. British naval power for the win. 771 points to 706, 27 seconds left in the game. And this one's about wrapped up here. So, this was a quick look at the hood for you, quick review, a little bit of tips on how to play, and some explanations about the armor. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you take what I've said into consideration before you buy this ship. It is not beginner friendly. It's a difficult ship to play, but it can be nice and rewarding, and it's pretty to look at. And, you know, there's the battle for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Got a lot of World of Warships Legends content coming all the time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.